The American dream has become a nightmare. Signs of the time are on cardboard on corners in town. Like a cancer that's silently spreading, there's an unspoken fear. We're on our way down. We must take America back. Main Street to Wall Street, cities and states, Washington, D.C. Before it's too late, there's not long. We need leaders who lead us, not stick us and bleed us, then ransom our future and our children's, that's wrong. We must take America back as liberty weeps, our forefathers spin in their graves. Pray God will bless some way out of this mess. We must take America back. Lord knows they'll try to silence our voices. They'll pretend to be patriots, fighting for fairness for all. But they're not even fit to hold office. What they believe doesn't fit with freedom at all. We must take America back. Main Street to Wall Street, cities and states, Washington, D.C. Before it's too late, there's not long.
Oh. The hurrier I go, the behinder I get. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the National Intel Report. I'm your host, John Stadtmiller, on this Tuesday, 27 November 2012. And when I say that date, I can scarcely believe 2012 is blown out the window. I have Andy Hoffman, Ranting Andy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
Oh, fair to middling under mostly cloudy and cold skies here in central Texas, but the leaves are still on the tree, Andy. And I've got Paul Drockton. Hello.
Hey, John.
Hey, Paul. Do I still have it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a short response. Are we economizing on words? If your words were gold, are you being miserly? No. Fellas, can we, like Joan Rivers used to say, can we talk? What in the heck is going on with our Congress crazy critters up there in the District of Criminals? The fiscal cliff. I am becoming rather fascinated with people with bloated budgets and pet projects, and they want to protect their constituency, or better still, maintain their vote. But nobody is willing to cut anything, and now we have conservative. I guess, folks, the day of the Republicans calling themselves at least conservative with money is now over. Chambliss and many other people, Republicans on Capitol Hill, are now saying, well, it looks like we're going to have to cooperate with the Democrats and raise taxes. Now, a blind man could see what is coming here. They are refusing to stop Middle East wars, refusing to shut down, 130 bases that we have around the globe. There is much that they can cut because they don't even have a constitutional mandate to do it. So I want to get your guys' take on this. Democrats and Republicans driving over this cliff. Yeah, maybe the Republicans only have the accelerator down halfway. The Democrats have it down all the way. But guess what? We're still going over the cliff. I want to get your guys' take on this when we get back. The Obama White House, this whole last term, we didn't have a budget.
Are you tormented with anxiety, depression, or other chronic symptoms of less than perfect health? In 2010, a few people got to participate in a groundbreaking discovery. Dr. Carolyn Dean, world-renowned authority on natural health, has recently patented a technology that is straight out of science fiction. And she invited me to try this product called RNA Drops. And within 12 hours of taking RNA Drops, I could feel an amazing sense of bliss. And since then, I've watched my troubles with depression and other health issues vanish into freedom and happiness again. Listen to hours of testimonials and get your trial bottle of RNA Drops at www.rnafreebottle.com. That's www.rnafreebottle.com. Pay only shipping and handling and get your free trial bottle today at rnafreebottle.com.
Herbal Healer Academy's new summer specials. Our 500 parts per million colloidal silver, all sizes on sale. Organic liquid iodine, liquid cal, mag, vitamin D, CoQ10 with hawthorn, colon enhancer, Super 2, natural laxative. Our exceptional product Connexin, memory power, and super male and femplex. All on sale for the summer at herbalhealer.com. Also, 10% off on the HHA survival course. This is an important time to have this information. Might save your life. Nation's leader in supplying quality natural medicine and education. herbalhealer.com. Free online newsletter. Quality natural medicine supplier since 1988. We ship the same day you place your order. Free 128-page catalog with your first order. Go to herbalhealer.com today. herbalhealer.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Get ready for Real Talk Radio. You're listening to the National Intel Report with your host, John Stadtmiller.
Gentlemen, during the first administration of the Grand Mac Daddy, the Democrats did not put forth a budget. Now, common sense would seem to indicate that why do you even consider doing a budget when the United States government and the Treasury are going ape crazy with bailing everything out? I guess the Democrats felt that they didn't need to put a budget forth, and now we have a budgetary problem. We're heading off the cliff in, 30 days, or they're doing a countdown on it. Like that's going to make any difference. We have Tim Geithner that has recently come out and said that, we just got to raise the debt ceiling. That's all we got to do. We got to follow Ben Bernanke's plan of monetizing everything, and I see no reason to stop doing that. So Harry Reid came out and said there's been little progress with the Republicans, and of course that's a disappointment to him. He says they've talked some happy talk about doing revenues, but we only had a couple of weeks to get something done. So we have to get away from the happy talk and start talking about specific things. Well, gentlemen, they're not serious. I mean, here is a government, even Greece right now, because of their bailouts, have been mandated by the bailees to do away with certain things their government was doing before. The people of Greece don't like it. For obvious reasons. Give the baby a sucker and you take the sucker away, the baby's going to cry. But we're still heading over that financial cliff. Andy, any insight into this supposed gridlock, or are they just going to turn around and declare that we've got to raise the debt ceiling again?
Okay, well, let's see. I take notes as I'm writing and as you're talking. And the first thing that I wrote on the top about 3 minutes ago was Greece. And it's not because they're embracing austerity. It's because it's the same Keystone Cop thing going on there as here. There's no budget being done. There's no the bailouts have gotten to the point where where the Europeans just simply give them the money and don't even care. I mean, they've already broken their austerity requirements within hours of getting the recent money, and they'll keep getting money because the Europeans realize that if Greece defaults on its $500 billion of debt, that's over for the entire financial system of the whole world. So they just keep giving them money and hoping that that the markets don't call them out on it. As for what's going on in the United States, you're darn right. It's one party under God right now, and God is more important now to the majority of America than the actual finances of the country. There's been no budget for 4 years, and there won't be one now. You mentioned Tim Geithner wanted to raise the debt ceiling. No, Tim Geithner said we should get rid of the debt ceiling, which would be the most hyperinflationary possible announcement. I think there's a good chance they're going to do it. And as for this fiscal cliff, you hear all this talk that out of the blue in the last month or two. It's really just to get people excited about the election, this fiscal cliff, because at year end, theoretically, the Bush tax cuts and these $200 billion of spending cuts come in. Most of the time, people think that they're talking about a deal to cut spending. No, they're talking about a deal to increase spending because they know that the minuscule $200 billion of cuts would destroy the nation. And I frankly think they're going to come to gridlock, and it's going to be an absolute catastrophe in early 2013.
Well, how much worse can it get? I mean, Andy, I'm down here in Central Texas, and there were 10 counties that they counted in the entire country that were doing the best. And 5 of those 10 counties are right here in Central Texas. I'm driving around in Austin today, and you could just see it. The strip malls, vacant. They're Christmas time, the retailers have got to be in line about Christmas buying here because I don't see a whole heck of a lot of people doing it. Things are continuing to dwindle down. So I'm looking at this. This is insanity to me. There's not even a feel-good clause for the American people. At least these politicians should be giving some heavy-duty lip service to actually making cuts. Now, the way I see this, and this is my own personal opinion, but there's a lot of people out there that find themselves right smack in the middle of the classic Hegelian dialectic. They create the problem, and we've seen what healthcare has done over the years. Everybody getting their fingers in the pie. I mean, Andy, 15, 20 years ago, at least 15 years ago, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, I was reading some of their annual reports, 70% of what they take into Blue Cross Blue Shield was going to administrative, salaries, you name it, and 30% of that was being paid back into actual health care. I have consistently seen the government getting in there and screwing around with things, driving up the cost of health care. It would seem to me the only prudent and sane thing to do at this point would be to drop this Obamacare, because we already know how it's already going to hit the businesses out there that are already suffering right now. But they're not willing to give an inch on anything. And it's
how could we drop it? We just reelected Obama last week. I mean, Obamacare is here to stay. And as for cutting, nothing will be cut. Nothing can be cut. I mean, we're talking about $200 billion of spending cuts that they simply cannot do. And that's why the market's falling, because they can't figure out any way to get rid of to do these $200 billion of spending cuts. The nation is in such bad shape, like you're talking about what you're seeing in Texas, that they literally can't afford to cut anything. The problem is that the deficit is now $1.5 trillion a year and rising. And if they announce that they're not going to, if they make a deal, which is what everyone wants and what the market wants, you're going to see hyperinflation. Because the deal just means, look, the reason we had this in the first place was because last September or August, when we had the debt ceiling issue. They created the Budget Control Act of 2011, which basically kicked the can of doing something about the deficits until after the election. Well, now it's after the election, and that can was pushed out to December 31st of this year. But they now find that the economy is so dramatically worse than it was even a year ago that they just don't know how to make any cuts. So I believe that they're going to ultimately make some kind of deal, and you're going to see inflation be the number one story of 2013.
You know, I'll tell you something. If you take a look at some of the things that are going to happen, this is going to be scary for anybody that's investing in the stock market or the bond market. I mean, the first thing that's beyond a shadow of a doubt is going to take place is a new 3.8% Medicare contribution tax on certain unearned income individuals, trusts, estates. That's going into force. So we're talking about 3.8% on investments. You want to talk about a disincentive for having money in the stock market, mutual fund, trust. This is going to scare people out. Dividend income. Dividends were taxed in 2012 at 15%. And basically, that's one of the Bush tax cuts that doesn't look like it's going to survive. They're playing commercials on TV talking about how we need to save our dividends. And if they don't continue that, then taxes on dividends are going to go up to almost 40%. Add to that the Medicare tax we just talked about, and people are going to be paying 43.4% on their dividend income. And there's a lot of retirees out there. That's what they rely on. So they pretty much are putting a nail in the stock market, John. That's what I'm seeing right here. Long-term capital gains are going to go up from 15% to 20% in 2013. Plus, you add that Medicare contribution tax on that, you're at 23.8%. I mean, this all but guarantees that the stock market is going to implode in 2013.
And we've seen record retail outflows now from the stock market for 2 years. In fact, I just read that last week, when the Dow was up 172 points on Friday, on the thinnest trading day of the year. That was the single biggest weekly outflow from equity mutual funds of the past 2 years. So there's already no one left in the stock market. And like Paul says, if they actually go through with the increase in the dividend and the capital gains taxes, that's literally a dagger through the heart of what's left of stock investing. And then, of course, you're seeing more and more talk about taking the IRAs or taking away some of the tax advantages of IRAs, which would be more a disincentive for stock market. And then you see that it's only left to the government to monetize stocks, just like it's doing bonds and anything else that it deems worthy.
Well, and pension funds. If people did a little bit of digging into the Twinkie story here, that was a company that was mismanaged, and it wasn't even Hostess anymore. It had been sold off several times. But everybody breathe a sigh of relief. You still may see your Twinkies and your Hostess Ho-Hos on your grocery shelves, only they'll be made in Mexico by a company called Bimbo, which is thoroughly. But as I dig through this and the financial standing of the company, they'd already stolen $2 billion of the pensions, the pension funds that people had already paid into it. So rather than, and they emerged, and I think the last bankruptcy was in last year, in 2011, and they resurfaced, I think, back in 2009 from the previous bankruptcy as a private company. So what I saw the media and everybody trying to do, they were banging on the media's, or the media was banging on, rather, the issue of it was actually the unions that put them under. No, they'd already stolen $2 billion of their pension funds. And I guess the easy way out, because they had been close to bankruptcy and winking out before, it's no big deal. Let's let 21,000 people go. It's no big deal. We'll just sell off whatever assets, and I'm sure there's going to be money being kicked back somewhere to this deal. But I did a little bit of digging on that Hostess story. All is not right in Twinkie world. And as one of my board ops said the other day, just when states start legalizing marijuana, what do? They take the munchies away. Unbelievable. At any rate, we got to take this break. We'll open up the phones. Any questions? None too small, none too large, folks. We have experts here. And don't be embarrassed. If you think it's a stupid question and you don't know the answer, then it ain't stupid. 800-313-9443.
Are you concerned about fluoride? chlorine, parasites, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Dalton ceramic water filters have been made continuously since 1827 and are used by disaster relief organizations and in third world countries to supply safe drinking water. Not only do we offer gravity filter systems, but also under the sink and countertop systems. Our replacement filters can be used to upgrade your existing system. And unlike some other filters on the market, Dalton filters do not have to be primed. For more information, call us at 800-696-1435, 800-696-1435, or order online at Dalton.com. That's DOULTON.com.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
Golden Stag Safaris invites you to hunt in one of Argentina's most beautiful scenarios. Enjoy the quietness of the Pampas and the 5-star accommodation lodge. Excellent food and wine included in your stay. All the while hunting big game in the Argentine Valley, an area known for having a wide range of game, excellent trophies, the biggest stags in South America, as well as many other species. All gold medal quality. One-on-one guided hunts, rental guns available with the highest quality scopes in every caliber, Land Rovers for transport, pick up at Buenos Aires Airport, and a private aircraft for charter is all available. Go to www.goldenstagsafaris.com to see photos and for more information. Again, www.goldenstagsafaris.com.
Wasn't that the idea when we started out? In school, that's what they said the Constitution was about.
Well, Black Friday. The retailers are claiming, hey, double plus good. It's better than last year. National Retail Federation is trumpeting a strong surge in spending. It says a record 247 million shoppers, and I'm doubting this very much, 247 million shoppers spent an average of $423 for a total of $59 billion over Black Friday weekend. Now, keep in mind, folks, that they started this, it's getting earlier and earlier. Thursday, many stores were starting at 9 p.m., But they're saying that, this would amount to 13% jump over the evidently $398 versus the $423 per person they reported last year. And last year sucked, folks, so this is no great shapes. But don't break out the bubbly just yet. The NRF estimates for Black Friday spending are based on consumer survey, and their accuracy is open to question. So, more feel-good stuff here. Stock market's solid. Don't worry. Yes, we're having a few drops here and there, but that's due to, for whatever reason they cook up.
Historically, if you look at the S&P 500, it peaked back in 2000, and we were close to where we're at right now. I don't remember exactly, but I think we're at maybe 1,420, maybe 1,500, maybe even higher. Of course, we had the collapse, 2001, 2002, where the S&P fell to below 800. Then the recovery, which lasted until 2007 and 2008, where we had another correction, which took us the S&P back down to 600. So this, this is like a glass of water that they dump the water out, they put some back, then they dump some more out. And when you factor in inflation, which over the last 10 years the dollar has depreciated at least 60%, then the S&P 500 really in 2001 dollars is at maybe about 750. So people are losing money by investing in the stock market.
Yeah, my calculations also. I mean, if you use the government's calculations of the CPI, the Dow has lost 20% of its value in the past decade. If you use the real numbers, say what John Williams of Shadow Stats uses, it's more like 60%, like Paul says. Actually, the Christmas price index, which comes out every year, was up 6% this year. So it's validating more what John Williams says and what the government says. And of course, if you look at the Dow, you have to remember the survivor bias, because there are 4 stocks in there right now that were not in there in 2000. In 2000, you had AIG, Citigroup, Eastman Kodak, and General Motors. So the Dow, even on an absolute basis, would be lower now if they weren't playing games with it. And as for Black Friday, you can't even do apples to apples. First of all, the fact that there's more sales on that weekend simply means that more people are shopping earlier in the year. That's the whole point. And now they're doing it on Thursday. Now they're doing online on Thursday. And I'll bet you a year or two from now, there'll be no such thing as Black Friday, because every retailer is going to be deep discounting. I bought 2 weeks ago at Great Clips, the hair cutter. They were offering unlimited $9.99 haircuts for the remainder of the year. So I bought like 20 haircuts for $10 when they're normally $15. So they're just giving away profits, and more people are shopping early. That's all.
Well, and here's the question you got to ask yourself: how many haircuts can you get in a month? That $9.99 haircut, is it still going to be there?
No, it's a gift card, forever. Yeah.
Well, my point is the haircutting place going to be there forever?
It's a good point. I think they will be, but many others won't be, and that's been a major issue with gift cards. There have been companies that have been giving them out, and then the companies fell into hardship.
The big issue with when you start looking at Black Friday as well is we think about what the problem is with America. It's just rampant. It's consumerism. I mean, that's the only word to describe it. There was a book written by a guy, I can't remember who the author was, but it was The Habits of Wealthy People or something along that lines. And the guy pointed out in the book that wealthy people buy assets, poor people buy liabilities. If whatever you purchase depreciates as soon as you walk out the door of the store, you just bought a liability, not an asset. Which means when liquidation time comes, it's going to be sitting in a garage sale for maybe 10 cents on the dollar, probably less. So it doesn't make sense to me to go out and spend $437 on junk when you can buy silver or gold, which has a record of appreciation, and give someone an asset and help them increase their net worth, John.
By the way, I wanted to bring this up before I forget. You still have spots left open for your webinar?
I do.
Not you, Andy.
No, our webinar is on the 4th. It's closed right now.
Okay.
But what's going to happen is it'll be immediately put up on YouTube the next day. And of course, most of it's a Q&A session, and I'm available to answer questions anytime.
All right. So this was scheduled out for December 4 for an hour from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. Central. So you're saying where on YouTube would they find this? How would they get it?
Well, if you go to our website, milesfranklin.com, we'll post it probably within a day.
Okay, real good. All right.
Thank you.
So, folks, it'll be there. All the information we can impart to the, and I hate to say this, but a generally dumb public out there. They're still asleep on the banking. They don't know what's going on. All they know to do is complain. Washington is in gridlock and the jobs situation's not better. They're touting home sales are going up. The economy's doing better. Not from where I'm sitting. If I'm sitting in one of the best 10 counties in America, I can tell you it's not doing that good. Compared to what? Nothing?
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
With financial uncertainty circling the globe due to job losses, decline in the housing market, a climate of corruption, bailouts, currency rigging, and unfair competition, many are once more turning to precious metals as the only hedge against the uncertainty of the future. With the U.S. House conducting hearings on proposals to confiscate workers' personal retirement accounts, including 401ks and IRAs, this is the time to secure your assets. Call Republic Trading Group today, 800-691-7898 before this happens, and find out how easy it is to convert your existing IRA and in some instances your 401k plan into real wealth now. Don't let the ravages of hyperinflation caused by the massive increase of fiat currency now flooding world markets affect your retirement account. Call RTG at 800-691-7898 and experience the security and peace of mind that only real gold and silver can offer. That number again is 800-691-7898. Call now.
If you would like to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself from anything out of balance concerning cardiovascular or diabetic circulation problems, then this might be the most important ad you'll ever hear. It is possible to acquire a 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation, which works. It is extremely effective and starts to work within days. For a long and healthy life, order today by calling 866-295-5305. 866-295-5305. A healthy heart is a happy heart. Order online at heartandbody.com. That's heartandbody.com.
There are many water filters to choose from, but there is only one system that is consistently customer rated 5 stars as the #1 system for effective filtration of fluoride, radiation, drug residues, heavy metals, a wide range of radioisotopes, and more. Introducing the Pure Effect Ultra, the next generation water filter that also raises alkaline pH, improves antioxidant potential, and has advanced anti-radiation technology, all while using no electricity. Sold worldwide, it provides virtually instant clean water on demand. It is not made in China, and the shipping is free to all 50 states. Buy your Pure Effect Ultra today by visiting pureeffectfilters.com. or call 888-891-4821. Again, that's 888-891-4821. Or visit pureeffectfilters.com.
You're tuned in to the National Intel Report, the Real Talk Radio Show.
All right, let's go to the phones here. Mike in Maryland. Hello, Mike.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Is this Andy Goss on here along with Paul Drogton?
No, this happens to be Ranting Andy Hoffman from Miles Franklin.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, all right. I thought it was somebody that appears on a local station here, but at any rate, though, it seems like both of your guests are very knowledgeable. Can I just maybe give a thumbnail sketch about the retail situation in the area that I live?
Well, and retail situation in Maryland?
Yeah, my territory that I deliver automobile parts to is west of Germantown, about an hour west of Washington, D.C., and we got shopping centers. They got this brand new shopping center. It's been open for a year, and it's still 3/4 empty.
Mm-hmm.
We've got another shopping center that's 3 years old. It took a year and a half before the first retail store opened, and that's 2/3 empty. We got like a 15-year-old shopping center, and there's only a huge one. And there's only one store left open, and I'm not sure how long that's going to stay there. And it's just pretty horrendous. And maybe, can I just give my 2 cents about the situation, the fiscal cliff et al., and that is that basically whatever Congress does, it won't be enough, and chances are they'll do the wrong thing, and even if they do the right thing, it'll be so painful in the near term that it could cause huge disruptions in the economy. So in essence, without me being too lengthily here and talking, haven't we lost control of our economic destiny? Isn't it out of our hands now? It's like centrifugal force.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
what you're saying, Mike, is there's no fixing it because it's gone past the point of any fixing. And you gave us, if you're on the ground out there in Maryland and you say you're an hour west of Washington, D.C., and you're saying the mall capacity is way down, that is the same across the country. As I stated earlier, here in Central Texas, well, we've got 5 of the best 10 counties in the entire country. I was just driving around in North Austin today. Strip malls, half to 3/4 empty. People are not spending money. My wife went to the mall the other day to check out she waited for a sale on something, and you could have fired a cannon off in the place. It wouldn't just not hit anybody. Nobody would have heard it because nobody was there to hear the cannon go off. It is like this across the country.
Now, of course, when you're talking about retail, there's two things going on. We know that generally speaking, retail sales are down. And then, of course, there's the inflation factor that makes whatever sales we have look higher than they are, especially with gasoline prices. But that said, the fact that we have lower strip mall or higher strip mall vacancies is also because there's so much more shopping online right now, which is great for margins, but it's terrible for unemployment, and there's really no way to get those jobs back.
Well, and I'm not a big online purchaser unless I know of the product or I do some research. Picking it up and doing the looky-loo is not necessary. But I'm a tactile kind of guy. I want to see how it's made. I want to pick it up. I want to feel the weight of it. I want to shake it, see everything falls out. I'm still a retail guy. I will purchase some things online. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think in this country that the old bricks and mortar is a dead idea. I think they've got to revamp and modernize. You go to a lot of these stores. Well, we don't have that in stock, but you can get it online. Okay, as I explained to people years ago working in the big box stores like Lowe's, and they were trying to herd people into the cashierless checkout line, self-checkouts, I said, why are you people doing this? You're doing yourself out of jobs. So, and Mike, one other thing, I mentioned this yesterday on the program. In this country, back in the 50s, we had strong retail. Hudson's store, I picked an example. Here's Detroit, flat on its keister. But they had the second largest retail store in the United States next to Macy's in New York City. Back in 1953, they had a 49-acre store, 12,000 employees. They were doing 100,000 sales, individual sales per day. It used as much as electricity as Ypsilanti, Michigan, and few people aren't familiar with Ypsilanti. It's not teeny-tiny. It had a legendary force of 500 drivers and 300 delivery trucks. They had 49 elevators in this store. One of the women's bathrooms had 85 stalls. They had restaurants that would feed tens of thousands of people a day. In 61, they decided to open up one of the first malls around Southfield, Michigan. Now, did that start to draw from storefronts, individual storefronts? Yeah, it did. But this was a process of morphing. But here's the important point of this. These were Americans working in American retail stores selling what? The bulk of it, American products. People had money to spend. They were making money, they spend money. What do we have today? We have a country that's been literally emptied out of manufacturing, and we now have service jobs. Well, what's one of the first things to go in bad economies? Guess what? Service jobs. So we're all ass backwards here on how to run an economy, and we're sitting back watching these clowns in Washington destroy what is left of the country. And as we said earlier, Mike, I don't know if you heard it or not, Andy corrected me. I said that Tim Geithner wanted to raise the debt ceiling. He said no. He said it's not accurate. What is accurate, he wants to do away with any debt ceiling. Just remove it entirely. So right. We're in a fix here. And there is no way out of this problem that we have right now. You cannot spend debt money to retire debt. That's like playing Russian roulette with a 6-gun with all 6 chambers loaded. It ain't going to work.
Well, here.
We got to look at also the fact that the United States still we don't have any protective tariffs. Because we have no industry, but what we've basically done is we've remained the world's largest consumer without producing anything.
That's exactly right. And this was kind of, if you think of it this way, Paul, it was kind of a closed loop. You know, this is why South Dakota has remained economically stronger than probably any state in the Union, is because they had their own state bank. They kept their money circulating within their own state. Employees go to work, they make money, they go spend money at their local retailers or whatever, for goods and services, doesn't matter. That was a closed loop. That money didn't jettison itself out of this country to go to China or Uruguay or Indonesia or India or wherever. Here are basic fundamentals of doing business, and they've done away with the fundamentals.
Well, if they went back to tariffs, we want to talk about balancing the budget, tariffs, protective tariffs, and basically, I mean, the reality is the solution is simple. We go back to what worked, and what worked was protective tariffs. China has plenty of tariffs, and as a result, they have a trade surplus, because basically if they can build it in the country, they don't want it from outside.
Yep.
Any healthy economy, any healthy country does not want some globalist corporation taking over its marketplace. And in the United States, because of our political system and because of the fact that we're dealing with fascism, it's not even capitalism, that focuses on people working for in sweatshops in India, making T-shirts for Walmart. That's what's destroying our country here, is the fact that we're not producing anything, and we're not doing anything to change that.
Mike, thanks for your call. I don't want to keep you in queue there.
Thanks. Thank you. Really appreciate the input. Well, then, because I remember hearing right after 9/11, 70% of our economy depends on retail sales and on consumerism, and I said that doesn't sound right. And if that's the case, we're in deep kimchi. But where do you all see this country 6 months from now? Is it just a slow slide into third worldism, or will there be some like big cliff fall here? And I'll get off the line. Thank you all very much.
All right, thanks.
Well, the question is, it's not a matter of whether it's 6 months. It's just a matter of how long the powers that be can keep the game going. It's a confidence game. It's a con game. That's the definition of a Ponzi scheme, is fiat currency. And the only way that they keep the game going is with confidence, by propping up the stock market and buying bonds with QE and suppressing paper gold and hoping that the physical demand doesn't swamp them, and putting out propaganda. And then, of course, taking over the nation with socialism and, as Paul said, fascism. It could be 6 months, the whole game's over. It could be tomorrow. It's not going to be years and years, but they're very powerful, and they've been very resilient so far. I just think that regardless of what happens, 2013 is going to be a major day of reckoning, because I think the inflation genie cannot be held in the bottle for another 12 months.
Well, Richard Russell, and on your website, you have quotes, and I saw this from Richard Russell. He says, how do you battle deflation? Easy. You print fiat money until deflation backs off and until signs of inflation appear. But what happens when you print to kingdom come and inflation refuses to appear? Well, in that case, your junk currency sinks to near nothingness, and you leave the whole deflation problem to the next generation of devaluing geniuses. Very frankly, I'm no longer even thinking of making money in the markets. I would just love to keep my purchasing power intact. And the purchasing power is a laugh anymore, because we do have inflation out there in food. And how much is this is due to speculation? Well, gasoline. Who owns the major gas companies or the major refineries? Well, the Wall Street does. So they're speculating the oil prices and keeping it as high as they can, because that's only going to benefit their bottom line. And then we add in another issue here with the Middle East. We still have this oil bourse going on. They're still trying to tie the oil to the U.S. dollar. And we've got a bunch of people in the Middle East going, we don't like usury. We don't like strip clubs or your McDonald's or your fiat money outfits. No, thank you. So we're going to continue to pound the hell out of the Middle East and deconstruct that entire region of the globe. I mean, there's been no disconnect from that. They've been trying to keep that thing going, and that was the Bretton Woods Agreement after 1945.
One of the things that...
Yeah, go, Paul.
I was just saying, adding to the conversation, one of the things that I found an actual government report on bank participation in the futures market. Andy, I thought you might be interested in this as well. And we're talking about manipulation of prices, basically manipulation of metals. These guys are into everything. They're betting on wheat. They're betting on corn, soybeans, U.S. Treasury bonds. They're betting on the euro. They're betting on the Gulf Coast. They're betting on natural gas. Everything you can possibly think about in the futures market, the banks are heavily invested. I mean, if we take a look at natural gas, the banks own 5,082,421 contracts on natural gas. So they can control price for every segment of the economy. This is how they've been manipulating things. And the reality is when they start hitting their liquidity crunch, which is coming very, very soon, thanks to some of the things we just talked about, they're not going to be able to do this play game anymore. And when that happens, then you're going to see consumer prices and all these things just go through the friggin' roof.
Right, and when you talk about the bank participation report, you're generally talking about the big banks, some of which, like J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, are the government. So they're not just betting; they are actually, manipulating the market on purpose. The problem is they create these mass distortions between the paper and the physical world. And then you look up and you see we're paying record prices for gas. Gold prices near a record high in almost every currency. Food prices are soaring. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just doesn't work. It causes problems. And Richard Russell has it exactly right. What he is saying is exactly what I talk about every day. It's the number one thing that I can tell people is that they have to understand gold and silver are not investments. They are money. When you buy investments, you hope they go up in value. When you buy gold and silver, you hold them knowing that everything else will fall in value against them. You are just protecting your purchasing power.
I call it, Andy, an insurance policy. Unlike a homeowner's insurance policy, nobody buys an insurance policy for their house, even though if you've got a mortgage, it's required by law. But nobody buys home insurance, fire protection, whatever, with the hopes that their house burns down. But I call buying gold and silver just a simple hedge to curb inflation, or better put, devaluation. So it's an insurance policy that you'll be able to cash in. Nobody hopes to cash in on their insurance policy watching their house burn down. And I've told people repeatedly, Andy, I said, quit looking, if you're thinking about gold and silver as being a safe investment, it's not an investment. It's just simply protecting your assets. It's protecting, you're converting your funny money notes over to real gold and silver. Real money has been for almost 6,000 years. It will do what it's going to do, as it's done in the past, it'll do now and into the future. That is just a barometer against how everything else sucks, for a lack of a better term. And they're still suppressing it. They're still, right now, gold should be going for over $3,200 an ounce, 33, maybe even higher. Silver should be in the range of 60 to 70, maybe $75 right now, in reflection of true economic condition. So it's
my math says $15,000 to $20,000 for gold right now, and it's very simple math. It's the same math that got you to $850 in 1980. I mean, it's that big of a disparity. So that's the beauty about gold and silver. You could own it, trying to protect your purchasing power, but you also know that this cartel is going to break, that's suppressing it, and there's going to be a major windfall. Of course, it's probably going to accompany a collapse of the system, in which case it's not going to be as much fun, quote, making money as you'd think.
Well, and the other day, somebody asked me a question. They asked me, is this true or false? And the scenario that they set out said, look, the banks have money right now, but they're not loaning it. There's no investment money. There's no money for loans. There's no money for anything. And this is pretty much what happened during the last depression. For 11 years, the money supply was sucked right out of circulation, and they let us bump along for 11 years until they found a way to make, oh, well, here comes a war. We can make money on that. We'll open up the coffers. Good guys, bad guys, we don't care. Plenty of money to loan. Well, this time around, and they could ease the suffering of people. Unemployment wouldn't have to be as bad if they were still loaning money, but they're not. And the guy asked me, is this true or false? He said, are the banks not loaning the money? Do they have money? And are they buying gold right now? What do you say, guys?
And tons of it. That's why prices are being suppressed. We talk about U.S. banks. This is from November 6th. There were 133,804 put options against gold placed by U.S. banks. Non-U.S. banks, 96,939 contracts. We're talking 100 ounces per contract. That's massive. We're talking almost a half million contracts total in the comics on gold. I mean, the bottom line is they're suppressing the prices because they're in the acquisition phase, which means that's what we should be in as individuals, investors, is we should be in the acquisition phase of precious metals.
All right, Andy, let me get your take on that. We'll take your calls, some more of your calls at 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
Hey, meat eaters, the freeze-dry guy wants to know, does your emergency food supply meet the standards for survival? Then get the 144-day meat variety unit from the freeze-dry guy. Our meat units utilize only quality Mountain House freeze-dried cooked ground chicken and ground beef, the undisputed choice for great taste and highest nutrition. The freeze-dry guy's 144-day meat variety unit includes 6 number 10 cans of the very best freeze-dried animal protein for power you'll need when the going gets tough. Every Meat Eater's 144-day meat variety unit comes with a free medical kit and always free shipping to the lower 48. Need more than 144 days? See our 1-year plus Meat Eaters units at freezedryguy.com. And hey, the Freeze Dry Guy still has LRP rations, but they're going fast. Don't wait until tomorrow. Call now, 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-3663. Or go to freezedryguy.com and meet the standards for survival.
Hey there, my name is Frank Bates. What I'm about to tell you in the next 60 seconds could get me in a lot of trouble. I just created a free video presentation at 123crooks.com that exposes the electricity monopolies and government agencies for what they really are. Incompetent, lying crooks that are counting on your ignorance and fear to keep your power bills criminally high. Some have called this a conspiracy. Others have called it a cover-up. And you'll be shocked to find out how deep the conspiracy goes. My video at 123crooks.com exposes the truth and shows you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Watch the controversial video that thousands of other smart patriots have already seen in the last 3 months. Go to 123crooks.com and discover one weird trick to slash your power bill and protect your home. Go watch my video now at 123crooks.com before they force me to shut it down. 123crooks.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Renting Andy Hoffman from MilesFranklin.com. What say you on that question of is the pattern repeating last depression, and are they buying up scads of gold right now?
Oh, I think it's vastly worse than the last time around. The reason the banks are not spending is they're being given money to stay afloat. They're all insolvent. In fact, if it weren't for the FASB rules being changed in 2009 so they could mark to fantasy their real estate assets, they would have all gone bankrupt. Right now, they are desperate for liquidity, and the government is giving them ZERP until at least mid-2015 to supply it. They're also allowing them via QE to get free profits through the carry trade, even though that carry trade is narrowing now that the bonds don't yield that much. So it has nothing to do with business practices. It has to do with staying solvent. And I mean, look at Basel III. They've just announced, these are informal regulations that banks will are recommended to do, but they're ultimately going to do it. And Basel III, just for the big European banks, said that they need an extra $500 billion just to stay solvent. And I'm not even sure what the number is for U.S. Banks. Look, the fact is the government is going to take over anything that it deems too big to fail. And that's what the mandate was on November 6th. So the National Socialist States of America.
Well, and people don't understand fascism. Benito Mussolini understood it. He kept saying, "Why do people keep calling me a fascist?" He said, "I'm just a corporatist." Yeah. Joe in Texas. Hello, Joe.
Hi, John. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I've got maybe a timing clue, and I wanted you guys to hear about it, and I just wanted to hear Andy and Paul's opinion if I could. Timothy Geithner this morning at his press conference announced that effective January the 1st, we're not going to be printing up or minting pennies and nickels anymore. And I found that very significant. Second timing thing would be that, and Paul, I bet, can answer this, is there's a guy on Zero Hedge that posted some charts about bonds. And I don't know much about charts, but he's saying that he doesn't know whether they're going to go up or go down, but they look like they're fixing to make an explosive move. And, of course, if they went up, it would mean the market would crash, I guess. And then the third thing...
Bonds have an inverse relationship. So the way it works is if the Fed raises rates on new issues, then existing issues which are being traded in the bond market go down in value.
Yeah, I knew that, Paul. Let me give you the third one, and I'll hang up. I don't know if you guys read Jim Willey, but I heard y'all talking about Richard Russell, so I bet you have. His letter that came out today is absolutely terrifying, and he thinks that this whole thing is going to probably come apart starting in January or February. And I thought that odd, coupling it with what Geithner said today about the no pennies or nickels. And I'm going to hang up because I want to hear what y'all say.
Okay, Joe, thank you for your call.
Well, they need to get rid of dollars soon, and $5 bills. I mean, in fact, it's the $100 bill is the only one they're really making that many of. But frankly, again, most people are not even using dollars anymore. So part of it has to do with just the movement toward a paperless society. But yeah, because of inflation, why do we need pennies and nickels? Yeah. In the case of pennies, they're actually worth more in copper than they are actual pennies.
Well, and that's copper wash zinc. And nickels right now, it's costing, I think I saw it's either 7.5 or 8.5 cents a piece to manufacture a nickel. Mm-hmm. So well, I mean, if you had a wad of money, I guess you go out there and get all the nickels you want, meld them down, and sell them back for 8.5 cents.
Well, the problem that they're going to face here is when you look at the bond market, a lot of banks, their assets are bonds because they were the ones buying up these treasuries. So the problem they've got is they have to raise rates. When they do raise rates, you're going to start seeing these bonds being devalued, which is going to basically trigger some of the issues you talk about with solvency, and is going to end up triggering default, which is going to trigger these derivatives that are hanging over our heads. So,
Andy, can you hang around with us a while longer?
Actually, I have something to do this afternoon.
Okay. Well, then we'll part ways here, and I appreciate you joining us, Andy.
Sure, we'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thank you, sir. Hang on, everybody. Paul Draken will rejoin me right after the top of the hour.